The cameras weren't pointing at her anymore. Delilah Moreau stood on her own red carpet, in front of her own mansion, at her own party, and every photographer was running toward someone else. The warehouse worker. The guy with the scuffed boots. The charity case she'd invited as a joke. Except he wasn't a warehouse worker. And the joke? It was about to be on her. In front of cameras. In front of her friends. In front of everyone who mattered in Los Angeles. See, Delilah thought she was running an experiment. She wanted to watch her broke boyfriend squirm in a room full of millionaires. Her friends called it entertainment. They texted about it in group chats, laughing at what would happen when he showed up underdressed and overwhelmed. What none of them knew was that Kai Turner wasn't the punchline. He was the plot twist. Have you ever watched someone underestimate the wrong person? Drop a comment if you've seen karma work in real time. Let's talk about Delilah Moreau. Socialite. Influencer adjacent. Trust fund princess living in a mansion carved into the Los Angeles hills. Her life was a carefully curated Instagram feed, designer everything, exclusive events, friends who measure their worth in followers and square footage. Every December, she threw the winter gala. Not for charity. Not for a cause. Just because she could. The guest list was a who's who of people desperate to be seen. Tech heirs spending daddy's money. Studio executives chasing the next big deal. Minor celebrities hoping paparazzi would remember their names. And this year, her friends had an idea. Invite Kai, one of them said, barely holding back laughter. Kai Turner. The guy Delilah had been casually seeing for 3 months. The guy from South LA who worked warehouse shifts and skateboarded to work. The guy who wore the same scuffed boots on every date and never ordered the expensive wine. To Delilah, Kai was a novelty. A walk on the wild side. Proof she wasn't shallow. Look, she was dating someone real. But to her friends? He was content. Let's see how he handles real money, another friend texted in their group chat. They called it the charity case experiment. Delilah sent the invitation with a winking emoji. No explanation. No mention that the dress code was black tie. No warning about the paparazzi lining her driveway or the cameras streaming everything live to social media. She wanted to see him panic. Wanted to watch him realize he didn't belong. Wanted her friends to get their show. What Delilah never did was ask Kai a single real question about his life. And that was her first mistake. Here's what Delilah never bothered to find out. Kai Turner did work in a warehouse. His warehouse. The one his logistics company operated out of in South LA. Let me explain. 2 years earlier, Kai was working night shifts at a distribution center, watching inefficiency bleed money in real time. Packages delayed. Routes miscalculated. Small businesses losing customers because deliveries arrived late or not at all. So Kai did what most people don't. He built a solution. He taught himself to code. Spent his breaks sketching algorithms on napkins. Used his paychecks to hire freelance developers. Slowly, quietly, he built a logistics app designed specifically for small businesses in underserved neighborhoods, the places big delivery companies ignored. It worked. Word spread. Small business owners started signing up. Revenue grew. And then Kai caught the attention of Miles Darden, a venture capitalist famous for funding startups led by people the traditional tech world overlooked. Miles saw what Delilah never did, Kai's vision, his work ethic, his ability to solve real problems for real people. 6 months before that winter gala, Miles's fund backed Kai's company with a multi-million-dollar investment. Kai became the majority shareholder of a logistics platform quietly valued in the millions. But Kai never told Delilah. Not because he was hiding it. Because he was testing her. He wanted to see how she treated him when she thought he had nothing. Wanted to know if she valued him for who he was or what he could offer her image. The scuffed boots? Comfortable. The skateboard? Practical. The warehouse shifts? Running his own business. Kai had been underestimated his whole life for his zip code, his skin color, the way he talked, the places he came from. He'd learned to let people reveal themselves. And Delilah had revealed everything. Have you ever let someone underestimate you just to see how they treat you? Hit like if you know that feeling. Gala night. Luxury SUVs rolled up Delilah's circular driveway like a parade of excess. Paparazzi lined the red carpet, shouting for poses. Influencers angled for the best lighting. The air smelled like expensive perfume and desperation. Delilah stood near the entrance in a gown that cost more than most people's rent, rehearsing cutting remarks in her head. Her friends clustered nearby, phones ready, waiting for the moment. "He's gonna show up in those boots," one whispered. "I'm recording everything," another promised. They were giddy. This was better than reality TV. This was their own personal episode, and they were the producers. Then a modest silver sedan pulled up to the curb. A few photographers glanced over, barely interested. No flash. No excitement. Just another nobody in the wrong car. The passenger door opened, and Miles Darden stepped out. If you don't know the name, understand this. Miles Darden was venture capital royalty. The man who'd made the cover of Forbes, Fortune, and Bloomberg for betting on founders no one else believed in. When Miles showed up somewhere, money followed. The energy shifted immediately. Photographers straightened. Cameras turned. Reporters started moving toward the sedan. Then Miles walked around the car, opened the driver's side door, and clapped Kai Turner on the shoulder. His voice carried across the driveway, loud enough for every microphone to catch. "Couldn't miss celebrating my favorite co-founder's big night." Everything stopped. Delilah's face drained of color. Her friends froze mid-text. The photographers swarmed like sharks smelling blood in the water. Because in that single sentence, the entire narrative flipped. Kai wasn't a warehouse worker anymore. He was the majority shareholder of a logistics company backed by one of the most respected investors in the country. The boots everyone was ready to mock? New Italian leather, just broken in. The suit? Custom-tailored. The sedan? A loaner until his own car was delivered next week. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The event's PR coordinator sprinted out of the mansion, realizing the real story had just arrived. "Kai, over here. Tell us about the company. What's the valuation? How did you meet Miles?" The red carpet host, a woman who'd been mid-sentence with Delilah, literally turned her back and shoved a microphone in Kai's direction. "Kai Turner, congratulations on your recent funding round. Can you tell us about your vision for the company?" Delilah stood there, mouth open, as the party she'd thrown, the camera she'd hired, the moment she'd orchestrated, became about someone else. The charity case had just become the main event, and she was a footnote in his story. The red carpet host was still talking, microphone angled toward Kai, smile bright and eager. "And this must be your lovely date for the evening." She gestured toward Delilah, assuming she was Kai's plus one. The reversal was complete. At her own party, Delilah had become the accessory. Kai looked at Delilah. Really looked at her. The crowd quieted, sensing something. He smiled. Not cruel. Not angry. Just calm. "That's Delilah," he said evenly. "Someone who invited me as a joke." The words hung in the air like a grenade. Cameras swiveled. Phones captured everything. You could hear the collective inhale of the crowd. Kai turned back to the host. "Tonight, I'm here to work." Then he walked the red carpet with Miles, photographers trailing them like a celebrity entourage, asking about his app, his plans, his rise. Delilah stood frozen. Her friends scattered like roaches when the lights come on. Suddenly, they were getting drinks or checking their makeup or taking a call. The group chat that had been blowing up with laughing emojis an hour ago was now silent. Because the experiment had backfired spectacularly. Inside the gala, the whispers started immediately. "Did you hear what he said? She invited him as a joke? Wait, she's dating a millionaire and tried to embarrass him?" Screenshots spread faster than champagne poured. The story wasn't about a broke guy crashing a rich party. It was about a socialite so shallow she couldn't recognize value when she was dating it. Delilah tried to mingle, tried to laugh it off, tried to reclaim her night. But everywhere she turned, people were watching Kai. He was the story. He was the moment. He networked. Shook hands with actual power players. Exchanged business cards with investors and executives who wouldn't have given him the time of day if they'd met him at that warehouse. Miles introduced him to people who mattered. People who saw his vision, not his zip code. Delilah watched from the sidelines at her own party. Around midnight, Kai and Miles left early. They had an investor meeting in the morning. Miles explained to a reporter. Real business. Real money. Photographers followed them to the sedan. Cameras flashed. The PR coordinator handed Kai her card, asking if he'd be willing to come back for a feature interview. Delilah stood at the entrance of her own mansion alone, as guests whispered and pointed. The joke was supposed to be on him. Instead, she'd humiliated herself in front of everyone who mattered, and the internet had the receipts. If you believe people reveal who they are when they think you have nothing, drop facts in the comments. So, what does Kai's story teach us? First, never confuse someone's situation with their value. Delilah saw warehouse shifts and scuffed boots and assumed poverty meant less than. She never asked about Kai's dreams, his work, his vision. She looked at where he came from and decided she knew everything about where he was going. That's not just classism. It's blindness. Second, character reveals itself when people think you can't see it. Kai let Delilah show her true colors. He could have dropped his business success in conversation, could have name-dropped Miles, could have flexed his bank account. But he didn't. Because he wanted to know who Delilah was when she thought he had nothing to offer her image. And she showed him. The group chat, the experiment, the mockery, all of it revealed exactly who she was. Third, dignity is more powerful than revenge. Kai could have destroyed Delilah publicly, could have embarrassed her in front of her friends, could have made a scene, could have exposed her cruelty in detail. Instead, he told the simple truth, someone who invited me as a joke, and walked away. He didn't need to embarrass her. She did that herself. Fourth, success is the best response to people who doubt you. Kai didn't argue, didn't defend himself, didn't beg Delilah or anyone else to respect him. He built something real. And when the moment came, the truth spoke louder than any comeback he could have delivered. But here's the deeper lesson. This story isn't just about money. It's about how we treat people when we think they don't matter. How we make assumptions based on appearance, zip code, job title, skin color, the car someone drives. And how those assumptions say more about us than them. Kai didn't change that night. Delilah's perception did. But by then it was too late. Because the people worth knowing don't need to prove themselves to you. They'll just prove themselves and leave you behind. At the edge of Los Angeles, in a mansion carved into the hills, a woman learned the most expensive lesson of her life. Delilah Moreau thought she was throwing a party to expose someone. Instead, she exposed herself, her cruelty, her shallowness, her need to feel superior by making others feel small. Kai Turner walked into that gala as the punchline and left as the story everyone would remember. The aftermath? You can imagine it. Delilah's mentions probably tanked. The screenshots lived forever. Her friends distanced themselves to avoid the scandal. Suddenly they barely knew her and never thought the joke was funny. Meanwhile, Kai? His company probably got a publicity boost from the whole ordeal. Miles Darden likely mentored him through the noise, reminding him that people like Delilah don't matter in the long run. Because here's what Kai understood that Delilah didn't. Respect isn't about where you're from or what you drive or how much money is in your bank account right now. It's about what you build, how you treat people, who you are when no one important is watching. Delilah invited Kai as a joke. He showed up as a reminder that the people you dismiss today might be the ones you need tomorrow. And by then, they won't remember you kindly. The warehouse worker with the scuffed boots turned out to be the most valuable person in the room. And the socialite in the designer gown turned out to be the poorest, in the ways that actually count. This channel tells stories about people who refuse to be underestimated. If you want more stories like Kai's, subscribe and hit that bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated because of where you're from or what you do? Let's talk about it. Because sometimes the person at the bottom of the list is the only one worth knowing.